Hey guys, Letter Magic here, and it is officially Monday, which means that it's actually a double ban announcement day. This is the regular one for all the other formats, and actually later today we're going to get an announcement about Pioneer. So gee, I wonder if they banned Oko Thief of Crowns in Standard. Oh look, they put the card art as the thumbnail for the article. So yeah, Oko's banned, but get this. 5 cards are banned. I guess one is restricted, but that's a lot. Unfortunately, I hate to disappoint you, but they completely missed the target again. Teferi is still legal, Cavalcade is still legal. So get ready to go up against absolutely nothing but Cavalcade Torbrand decks. That'll be fun. So Oko is banned, shocker there. Once Upon a Time is banned, not that surprising, but And then Veil of Summer is banned. You know, the card that people were playing in the Oko deck that now you can't play. I don't know. Oko has been like 70 to 80% of the format, so maybe there is another degenerate deck that runs Veil. I don't know. It was just banned in Pioneer. Oh, and guess what? I'll just throw this one out there right now. Oko was banned again in Brawl. He can't be your commander. He can't be in your deck, which is hilarious because they already banned him on Arena. And it's looking more like the Arena staff did this without Wizards' permission, which is hilarious. Or should I say, they originally did that. This ban is from Wizards. So let's start with Once Upon a Time. So that card says, it costs 2, it's a green instant. If this spell is the first spell you've cast this game, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So not even a planeswalker. It's a creature or a land. So for 2 mana, that's an average spell. For 0 mana, that's a pretty good spell. It's not really card advantage +1 because you're getting rid of this card to get 1 card, but I've always told people there's card advantage and then there's getting the right card, getting a card that you actually want instead of just blindly going +1. So there's a tiny bit of value there, but what creature is so valuable that they had to ban this? I can't wait to see what they say. My guess is it has to do with wolves. Either that or Frilled Mystic. Those are my guesses. And then Veil of Summer is a 1-cost green instant that says draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. That's right, this card does practically nothing if your opponent isn't running blue or black. So mono red, you just drew a dead card that does nothing. Congratulations. I think the middle part still goes off. That's why I said this is unplayable outside of a sideboard, but whatever. So spells you control can't be countered this turn. As far as I know, because there is no ruling for this, that part still goes off whether your opponent played a blue or black spell or not. So cool, but you're like burning a spell and then the spell after it to make sure it doesn't get countered, and they could just counter this. So yeah. And then you and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and black until end of turn. So a devastating 1-cost green counter spell, but only against blue and black, which are control colors, so I get it, but you can't afford to mainboard this. You can't. That's why it's very questionable that they ban this, but I don't know. In Pioneer, people told me that basically every deck is blue and black, so people were mainboarding it, which tells me ban cards until that isn't the case and leave this in, but whatever. So let's read their explanation. So over the past several weeks, the standard metagame has been in an unhealthy state. Really? That's news to me. So we're taking significant steps to rectify it. Well, you didn't ban Chandra, you didn't ban Torbrand, you didn't ban Cavalcade, you didn't ban, let's see, what else is problematic? Steel Overseer, he's still there. Teferi, he's still there. The wolf that eats food and can never be destroyed, he's still there. If people are literally just going to play Simic Flash and Cavalcade Red, and that's all you're going to see. And then they're going to have to ban that. So I guess in a month, maybe Standard will be playable. What they really need to do is stop printing crap like that. So anyway, 2 major issues are the dominance of Simic-based food decks. Okay, I was right. It is the stupid wolf food thing, Simic Flash, both of them. I've seen, would I really call them 2 different decks? I mean, maybe. But yeah, that deck is as annoying as Oko. You can't resolve a damn thing, and if you finally get to target the wolf, they'll just make him indestructible. So that mixed with the force fight, I would have banned the wolf. I absolutely would have banned that stupid food-eating piece of shit wolf, not Once Upon a Time. That is not the problem. Anyway, two decks, that one, and decks featuring Oko Thief of Crowns and the general overrepresentation of green in the competitive metagame. Which, they're acting like those are two different problems. No, those two decks are the problem. The color green has nothing to do with it. Although having a green counterspell, I mean, a lot of the problems in Standard right now, even the minor problems, color's not staying in their lane. I mean, red is cloning spells. That's a blue thing, primarily. I mean, it's not unheard of, but it's primarily a blue thing. You got your white counterspell, God's willing. You've got your green counterspell, which is, of course, Veil of Summer. You can't do that. Okay, you can't let a deck just do anything. The whole point of having colors is that your deck will have blind spots. That's why 3-color decks are so bad, because they can literally do anything. They are capable of doing anything that the game can do. And then past that, don't even get me started on the Swiss Army sideboard. So if you just let people play like mono-colored or 2-colored and they got the same thing, they also have like basically counterspells, now we've got a problem. Now it's not unheard of to add hexproof to green, but like I said, they're really pushing it. It should be a special exception on a borderline playable card in case of emergency and only for sideboards. That's when you should steer that far out of your lane with these effects. So anyway, they go on to say, food decks featuring Oko Thief of Crowns have been the most popular and most winning for the majority of the Throne of Eldraine standard season. This culminated with almost 70% of the decks at Mythic Championship Richmond, including the card. By the way, the only other decks I remember were Rakdos, like Death Trigger crap, which, yeah, I mean, it's powerful, but it seems stoppable by almost every deck I own, so I don't know, I wouldn't say ban-worthy, but it did really well at the Mythic Championship. I think actually there was one Simic Flash Trash. I feel like everybody running that ran Oko, but I think the only other deck from the winning list was Cavalcade Red, because that deck is overpowered as all hell, especially with Chandra's Shitbird. And then it's like, yeah, Simic Flash wasn't really there, but it was. They just had Oko in it, and so everybody called it an Oko deck. It's not. He helped, but that wasn't the point. He was just a food generator. It wasn't like a back end to ramp into Hydroid Krasis, you know what I mean? Oh, looks like I was right, because they say, let's see, based on data from high-ranked Arena traditional best-of-3 play, which, oh yeah, 1% of people on Arena play that, but it would reflect FNM. Only one of the other 10 most played decks, Simic Flash, had a favorable matchup against Simic-based food decks, which that's literally the same thing. I mean, you can either go all-in Flash or you can go Wolf-heavy. It's the same deck. Anyway, and only just above 50%. So food decks maintained an average of about 53% non-mirror match win rate, which they consider healthy, by the way. Above 55, they consider it unhealthy, even with the metagame focused on beating them. Okay, so they are swinging the hammer at that deck, any kind of Simic Food or Simic Flash, either Control Heavy or Wolf Heavy, either one, I guess, and then just Oko in general. But they're not doing anything about Cavalcade, which is just shocking, but it's not that shocking because they're idiots. I mean, Mono Red has been a problem since Amon Cat, so I guess they missed that. Before Oko became popular, that's all anybody played. I guess they don't remember that either. But if they're looking at the pure numbers, that deck gets its ass kicked by Simic Flash and by Oko. So, wow, can't wait till next month when they ban Cavalcade. This just really pisses me off. It really, really does. So, Oko Thief of Assholes has also reduced metagame diversity and diversity of gameplay in Standard by shutting off build-around creatures and artifacts. Yes, you can't win against that deck with creatures or artifacts, and you guys didn't think that was a problem during playtesting. According to statements from the staff, and I believe Aaron Forsyth himself, he didn't think people would use it defensively. He thought they would only turn their own food tokens into elks. What a fucking idiot. But we're talking about the same dumbass who said in an interview that he didn't think Collected Company would take off at all. He thought it was a gimmicky card that maybe somebody would put in their draft deck. That's it. Oh yeah, getting 2 free untribal creatures, yeah, that's not devastating to the game state. He needs to get fired. They need to ban him. I mean, Mark Dumbass Rosewater designs the cards, and then Aaron Forsyth lets them through. That's my understanding of their company dynamic. So Aaron's the number one target. More people want Aaron fired than Mark, believe it or not, in the community. So anyway, ultimately, Oko's power level has proven higher than is healthy for the current metagame and higher than intended for future environments, including Theros Beyond Death and forward. Yeah, that IKEA set that's all creatures, Yeah. So to address green's general dominance, we're also choosing to remove Once Upon a Time and Veil of Summer from the environment. Alongside Oko Thief of Crowns, Once Upon a Time is one of the key reasons green has been overrepresented in the environment. It contributes to a high consistency of strong starts and provides a level of early mana fixing that other colors don't have access to. Mana fixing isn't the problem. Simic decks don't struggle with that. It's going to get that stupid wolf or a frilled mystic. Those are the problems. I mean, yeah, you can play this for free and fix a mana problem in case you have a mana problem, but I mean, fixing mana problems has been a given ever since they printed too many fixing cards. So I don't know what they're talking about. They're just wrong about that, but whatever. At least they banned the card. This advantage is especially important in the context of a small 5-set standard card pool with less flexible mana bases. Oh, that's funny. Because even people playing 3-color never don't get their colors on time. It never happens. You guys printed way too much universal fixing and way too much land fetch. So if they think that Once Upon a Time is exclusively responsible for overfixing the colors in 3-color decks, they are idiots. But yeah, we've gone way too far for a 5-set standard, which is the minimum number. So arena data indicates that without also removing Once Upon a Time, green decks would still continue to be too powerful and consistent going forward. Yes, not green decks specifically, not the color green specifically. Their mana fixing is already a given if they're not just playing mono, which is also a little OP. Have you seen my mono green deck? But the wolf and the frilled mystic are the problem, and that's what that fetches. You can't just hand them a counterspell on turn 0. Or their game-winning card that can't be destroyed. Either one. I mean, if they want to look at color fixing and too much ramp in these decks, they got to look at the enchantments that sit on top of lands. Those are the problem. So finally, Veil of Summer is also playing an important role in preventing the metagame from being able to self-correct. Yeah, in not best of one, because that's a sideboard card. So cards that played similar roles in the past, like Autumn's Veil, Display of Dominance, proved a lower power level than desired in their respective standard environments, leaving green with a weaker option compared to the other color hate cards in those cycles, which is why you should never print color hate cards. And they actually said a couple years ago they're never going to print color specific cards ever again, and now here we are. So Veil of Summer is at the other end of the spectrum. It's too much more efficient than the other cards in the cycle, and by comparison to other tools available in standard. Yeah, like just putting a counterspell in your deck because they're already playing Simic. So it gives green decks too much resilience against removal and disruption. Well, except for red and white. I'm telling you, it is unreliability in card form. Yes, it utterly and completely shuts down one single spell one time from blue-black only, otherwise it does dead-ass nothing. You won't find that in my main board. I guess they're exclusively talking about sideboard. Either that or people just ran it because Oko, I guess. Which means leave it alone, but whatever. Honestly, taking a card that is so not green and getting rid of it from green, I don't have a real problem with that, but I think their focus is in the wrong place. So we believe these changes are necessary and sufficient to open up the standard metagame to a much higher degree of diversity, and the resulting environment going forward will more closely match designed intent. No, it's just going to be a cavalcade shit show. For more information about what these bannings mean on Magic the Gathering Arena for collections, pack collations, and events, click here. Oh, I'm going to log in and see how many I get. All right, we get the following cards have been banned, and then if I hit OK, I get, oh my god, 2 mythic rare wild cards, 2 rare wild cards, and 2 uncommon wild cards, so I must have owned 2 of each. I never played with them, but okay. So yeah, log in, you'll get a 1-for-1 refund on any that you owned. So next up we've got Brawl. It literally just says, for similar reasons outlined in the standard discussion and to bring tabletop and arena Brawl into alignment, Oko Thief of Crowns is also banned in tabletop Brawl. So they're like, yeah, he's still broken, screw him in this format too. That's hilarious. And I guess they left Veil alone because who the hell would mainboard that in a Brawl deck? And I guess once upon a time in Brawl, I mean, you're going to need color fixing, and I mean, if you're going to go fetch a 1 of out of 50 for a creature, you're probably not going to get what you want. They didn't say either of those, but they also didn't ban those in Brawl, so I'm going to assume that's what it was. So let's move on to Legacy and Vintage, my two favorite formats, where people like to shuffle decks wrong and then sue each other. Yes, that happened. So in Legacy, since their adoption of Wrenn and Six, which, let's just stop here, a 2-cost Planeswalker for 3 loyalty, okay? If you're not familiar... That's what it is. So +1, return up to 1 target land card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, that's already like a landfall nightmare. I have no idea what deck this is played in, but that's the first place I would go. -1, Wrenn and Six deals 1 damage to any target, which is, pathetic, but you never know. It's Legacy. I mean, things don't work normally in Legacy. It's like the Bermuda Triangle of Magic. And -7, you get an emblem with instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard have retrace. Okay, that's crazy. That's completely nuts. But it's an emblem, and you're like, 4 turns away from that? So, to me, this didn't strike me as a very good card, but people were telling me, oh my god, this goes in this deck. And I'm like, all right, I'll take your word for it. Well, his ass is banned, so he says, since his adoption, they say they, but come on. Temur Delver variants have become dominant in Legacy. That they need to do something about. That Delver card can kiss my ass in multiple formats. That's what they should have banned, but they know that would disrupt it too much. So Wrenn and Six was a card in Modern Horizons, and everybody knew that a lot of cards in there were a mistake, just like everybody knew that a bunch of cards in there were not printed for Modern. And I guess this is another one that pushed it too far, in addition to Hogak and whatever else they banned from it. I mean, everybody just nicknamed it Ban Masters because they're like, you're trying to micromanage Modern and Legacy and Vintage and Commander, while also, printing better cards for the already Tier 1 decks. That's not a good idea. They should have tried to take Tier 2 decks that used to be Tier 1 and boost them up, which even that they did a little bit. And wow, they went a little too far. So Temur Delver has maintained a 56.5% win rate. Remember, their limit is 55. They have said this. And earned over 3 times as many 5-0 finishes as the next deck. Wow, how'd they do that with a 56.5% win rate? That's amazing. Well, it just goes to show, a slight edge, which 6.5% is above slight, but still a slight edge will get you 5-0 finishes. That's why people who cheat constantly in the game constantly win. One tiny little advantage one time in the game is enough to dominate. It will switch you from loser to winner the majority of the time. So anyway, most importantly, it has a favorable matchup against other of the 10 most played decks. So while a strong card in general, if you say so, Wrenn and Six is especially powerful in Legacy because of its interaction with Wasteland. Oh, didn't even think of that. Yeah, Wasteland, if you're not familiar, is sacrifice Wasteland, destroy target non-basic land. So if you could just keep going to get that over and over and over again, +1 per turn, that would be ridiculous for 2 mana. Utterly ridiculous. See, I was picturing going to get actual lands, not that disgrace. So once again, banning Delver and banning Wasteland would have been the solution, but instead they're banning Wrenn and Six because, my Delver deck, you're going to ruin my Delver deck. As if anybody still wants that in the format. So anyway, yeah, you go get Wasteland, you basically make it so they can't win, and the historic prevalence of metagame defining 1 toughness creatures like Mother of Runes, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, and Young Pyromancer. I hate at least 2 of those cards. Prior to the addition of Wrenn and Six to Temur Delver decks, the Legacy metagame was generally looking healthy. That is true. In order to weaken Temur Delver decks and bring the metagame into a better balance again, Wrenn and Six is banned in Legacies. So, okay, now that they said that, I completely agree with it. Yeah, getting rid of important creatures that aren't really creatures, they're very early game, basically enchantments. You just need them for their ability, and they just sit out there and probably don't attack. That's not good. He could just ping them and goodbye for -1, which is nothing. And then at the same time prevent them from even coming out by taking their only lands and blowing up, 1 per turn. That's ridiculous. Whoever designed this card clearly didn't know what Wasteland was. They've never heard of the card, I guess. What a bunch of morons, seriously. Wasteland is a $30 card, okay? That wasn't on the radar? Really? Next, let's move on to Vintage, where it's utterly dominated not by Narset Parter Veils, that was just banned, but by cheaters and counterfeits. But technically those 2 are already banned, they're just not enforcing it very well. So if you're not familiar, Vintage is an overpriced pile of shit that doesn't even resemble Magic gameplay. There's a lot of turn 2 bullshit no matter how much they try to control it. And honestly, the shortness of the gameplay and the ridiculous, like, let's stack up 8 counterspell bullshit is not even worth the time you take shuffling. And it's another format where people have been known to sue each other for shuffling in a way that damages their cards just to spite each other. Yeah, stuck-up douchey players with $10,000 decks have sued each other for shuffling in a way that damaged the cards because they weren't happy that they were losing, and I believe they either won or settled. That's the quality of rich boy assholes who play Vintage. It's basically like the Gulf of the Magic world. Actually, Golf would be Legacy, okay? Vintage is like Polo, because then you need a horse. I have no respect for the format, the prices, the counterfeiting, the reserve list, the people who play it, the amount of money they spend on the decks, the attitudes of the players. They just need to ban Vintage. It is an absolute joke and a disgrace to the game, and honestly, in my opinion, it's not even the same game. Nothing about it resembles Magic gameplay, at all. I mean, generally, just whoever goes first wins, so if you want to just flip a coin competitively, go for it. Seriously, if you think it's not as bad as I thought, just look up Vintage gameplay on YouTube. You'll see what I mean. So anyway, following up on the recent changes to the restricted list. Oh, by the way, cards can't be banned in Vintage. They can only be restricted, which means you can still have one in your deck. Following up on the recent changes to the restricted list and the results of Eternal Weekend North America 2019, apparently that was a thing that happened. We're making one additional change. In the context of the fast mana and efficient card draw available in Vintage, that's an understatement. Narset Partner Avails is contributing to one-sided games at a higher degree than is healthy. So is Going First. In order to reduce the frequency at which an early Narset partner avails static ability soft locks the opposing player out of the game, Narset is restricted. So her ability is each opponent can draw more than one card each turn. So generating like 5 mana on turn 1 and drawing like 6 cards on like turn 2 or whatever, that's bread and butter in Vintage. That's how Vintage is played. So yeah, Narset isn't welcome in this absolute shitstorm of a format. Oh yeah, God forbid Narset come out and just wreck people's stupid, like, brainstorm, ponder, Black Lotus-a-thon. Wouldn't that be a shame? I mean, I don't think she shouldn't have been banned. I think she should be banned in Standard. I hate this card. But only because she already helps out a Teferi Prison deck. If it wasn't for that deck, I wouldn't have a problem with Narset. I actually like playing her because, screw decks that try to go card advantage because they're all control decks. If you're trying to draw way too many cards, then it's probably because you're an asshole playing some, standard counter everything or standard prison deck where your opponent can't do anything. So you play this, you play Teferi, you play one of those white enchantments that say you can't cast more than one spell per turn, and then you just counter everything they do and they can't even play their deck. So that. So the only problem is she's blue. She's actually double blue. So it's usually just an arms race between those decks trying to screw each other over, which is stupid. Now, if she was a different color, she'd be the great equalizer and she wouldn't even be in those decks. So in Standard, yeah, she's not ideal, but whatever. In Vintage, yeah, she gotta go. But so does the whole format and everybody who plays it. So yeah, 5 1/4 cards banned. Pretty interesting. I think within a day, I'll be able to make the call about just how toxic Standard is with Cavalcade and Teferi still in it. I'm glad that they gutted Simic Flash, but I think people are still going to play it. I think even without Once Upon a Time, and I don't care about Veil of Summer, I don't play those colors, I think Simic Flash is still going to be toxic AIDS. Not to mention Teferi Prison decks, and obviously, Red Cavalcade with Torbran, and any speed version of it. The Turbo Fast version, and the Goblin Heavy Flood version, and the Let's Stall Until We Get Chandra out deck. Not to mention Super Friends, which that'll see a resurgence. 3+ color Super Friends is one of the worst decks I've ever played against, so get ready for that to come back. So yeah, we're going to need a lot more banning to fix Standard, but at least they took down 2 of the biggest problems, but the problem is there were like 4 toxic decks for sure, and now we only have 2. So in my opinion, they made it worse, just like they did with Field of the Dead, but once again, Field of the Dead was the biggest problem in Standard. Oko was the biggest problem in Standard. So they did target the correct high priority, but they didn't actually make Standard playable. And we're about to find that out within, like I said, a day or 2 on Arena. So, oh boy, really looking forward to that. And honestly, in the last 2 weeks, I played against Oko Thief of Crowns in the top of the Platinum League maybe 4 or 5 times out of about 100 games. Like, literally nobody was playing him. And honestly, my Candy Cane deck, which is Protection from Colors Trample Double Strike, had no problem taking out Oko repeatedly. Simic Flash, too slow. They're still dropping their ramp by the time they're dead. So, I'd recommend everybody play that deck because the first strike abilities really shut down Cavalcade. Also, the life gain from just the 4 copies of that life gain white instant, pretty damn good. So that's the one I would recommend playing. Also, my Mr. X deck and my Infinity Part 2 deck are going to be really good because they only lost to Oko. So if you're going to build something, make sure it's a line of Death Touchers. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.